Is the Game Awards even really an award show? Welcome back, everyone. We are here to answer that question and discuss so much more as we talk about the 2025 Game Awards. Before we get into this and I say my piece about the Game Awards, I would like to know some of your thoughts, and I would like to know what is your most anticipated game going into 2026? What are you hyped for? And which trailer at the Game Awards caught your attention the most? Let me know down below. There's been a lot of talk about this award show and the real MVP of the award show. And I just gotta say, we all know who that is. It's clearly Flute Guy. Oh my goodness. Can we just give it up for Flute Guy? How many flutes does that man own? There were so many amazing games that came out this year and so many amazing contenders for this award show. I watched this live. You could see my live stream over at twitch.tv/vampex13, but I will also be putting up, ideally, a highlight reel over on my other channel, Amanda McKnight Official. But I wanted to talk a little bit about just what I witnessed and my feelings, because I had a lot of feelings throughout the course of this show and a lot of epiphanies that I need to share with you. Namely, it is an award show. However, at the same time, what are we doing with these awards? Some of the awards end up being shown off in the pre-show, including a pretty big one that we had this year, and that was Best Indie Game, which actually happened during the pre-show. Now, considering what this show represents this year in terms of the revolution that we are seeing in indie games, in terms of how they're rising up and changing the entire gaming landscape right now, it's a little weird to have the award for Best Indie Game in your pre-show, don't you think? And that's always kind of been a little bit of my issue with the Game Awards, is how quickly we go through some of these awards, how short the speeches have to be, and how little time we spend on the actual award portion of the Game Awards. Now, that being said, I also feel like the Game Awards is maybe the most exciting award show that we have. I feel like a lot of award shows end up being quite dry and kind of boring, and the Game Awards is a show that I actually get hyped for and I have a fun time watching. And that is because it's not just about celebrating all of the amazing games that came out this year, it is also about getting us hyped for everything that's coming in 2026 and beyond. In some cases, very far beyond. I'm looking at you, Star Wars Photor. If you ever end up happening, I hope you do. I believe you will. At one point, it felt like there were so many trailers in the Game Awards that I waited like 20 minutes for another award to happen. So that's the part where I always feel like I have to do a bit of a balancing act with this award show, where on one hand, I love what it represents, and on the other hand, I feel like it's kind of a little bit too much about making that money, showing off those trailers. But at the same time, as a gamer, I am hyped for those trailers and I want to see them and I want to know what to spend money on. And this year, we had quite a plethora of amazing trailers. In fact, I checked and I wrote down about 33 games that I am hyped to check out whenever they release, and that I will, in some cases, be wishlisting immediately. I wishlisted them like immediately after the show was done. So that's pretty cool. And what other show does that? No other award show is like this. And not only is this year amazing because we had so many fantastic games were showcased, there were a lot of indie games that were showcased, both in terms of our actual award show nominees and in terms of the trailers that we saw as well. One of my most anticipated games that I'm looking forward to after the show is a little game called Out of Words, which is a co-op stop motion game, and I played Midnight Walk this year and I loved that, and it was also a stop motion game. Hopefully people will also be kinder to Out of Words and realize it takes a lot of time to make stop motion. Some people were very upset that the Midnight Walk is such a short game. However, do you know how long it probably took them to make that? takes forever to shoot stop motion. So there is a lot going on in terms of the progress that we're seeing when it comes to indie games. There were 3 games nominated for Game of the Year this year that would be considered indie by the modern definition. Now, I've also heard other folks talking about their issues with the classification of indie. Some people were upset that Expedition 33 was nominated to be the best indie game and that they felt it was unfair that it was actually taking away from other indies in that category. Because Expedition 33 did come from a studio, wasn't made independently by developers. However, it is their first game. It is an independent studio. And so the way that we now frame independent games, this is kind of how it's always been, but some people just take issue with the way that it's defined. And I understand that people are upset that Expedition 33 cleaned up at the award show. And to those people, I would say, have you played Expedition 33? Because if you haven't, hopefully playing it would give you some more clarity on this. Now, I've only played Expedition 33 for about 6 hours at the time of this recording, and I can handily say that I feel that every category that they won in, they deserved. I think they only missed out in 1 category, and I say that with a lot of love for the other games that were nominated. I mean, one of my favorite games of the year, Silent Hill F, I don't think it won anything. That game is so good. But the reality is, Expedition is not just a game of the year. It is potentially a game of the decade. It's potentially a game of the century. That is how good that game is. And keep in mind, I've only played about 6 hours of this game. I know it gets a lot better. So that's me saying that after playing 6 hours. I can't imagine when I finish it all the emotions I will feel. I felt a lot in those first 6 hours. In fact, Expedition 33 was nominated for the most awards at the Game Awards ever. It is the most nominated game we have ever had. It was breaking records and it cleaned up. And I think we all predicted it was going to clean up because even if you haven't played the game, you haven't been able to avoid, I'm sure, the hype for this game. But it's not just about Expedition 33 winning that is the big news. I think what some people are glazing over with this is what this means for gaming at large, and hopefully what it will mean for us as gamers, as consumers, and what it will mean, I hope, for the industry and game studios as time goes on. And the reason I bring this up is because when the team came to the award show, first of all, they were all dressed up in their little berets and their little, black and white striped shirts, French, in a line with the Expedition 33 look of the game, and I thought that they looked adorable. But not only that, this team also seemed to bring a sense of groundedness to the stage whenever they were accepting awards. There was a humble nature to them that I really loved and gravitated towards. I just thought the entire team seemed so cute. And when they won Game of the Year, what did they do with their time up there? One of the things they did was they announced that free content is coming today to Expedition 33. That's right. The day they won Game of the Year, they decided we're launching this content. And that would have happened whether or not they won, I'm sure. They didn't know that they were going to win. Although I'm sure, like some of us, I would think some of them maybe guessed it was likely. I thought that they were going to win Game of the Year, and they did. So they might have had an inkling, but I don't think when you're nominated for anything, when you're a nominee, you ever think it's possible you'll win. Definitely not if you're as humble as this team appears to be. So they had planned to just drop this free content just because, and you've bought the game, you get the content. We're still working on it. We're still developing it because we love this game and we want to give you more. And we want to give back to the people that made our game so impactful, that allowed us to be here at this place. I love that they decided to just announce that as they accepted the award. I thought that was so cool and speaks towards the kind of people that we want to see in our industry, the kind of people that we want to be the winners, the people that just give back because. You think about the last few years of the Game Awards and who's won, and I think it's clear to see that there is a revolution that is beginning. It was bubbling last year, and I said this during my stream. I think it is now, we are entering full swing of indie game revolution and what can be accomplished. and what we want to play. We're tired. We're tired as gamers of people just taking advantage of us, overcharging us for things. 1 million battle passes. And I'm not saying that there's never a place for a battle pass, but the fact that everything has kind of become the same type of game, it's just we're losing a whole sense of creativity in the gaming world. And to see Baldur's Gate win, and then Astrobot win, and then Expedition 33 win, it's like, okay, this is the future. We are living in it. It is not perfect by any stretch. If I look outside of gaming, there are many things for me to be concerned about. But with gaming, although we've had a lot of lows this year, I think this is a major high. Expedition 33 also took the time in their speech to thank YouTubers, people that are out there telling you how to make games in their YouTube videos. That's right. These folks that spent 10 million to make this amazing, heart-wrenching, beautiful work of art, Expedition 33. They were learning how to make games from YouTubers. How inspiring is that? Anyone can make games, and even you could make a game that could win Game of the Year, and you could learn it all on YouTube. How crazy is that? I just thought that was so, once again, humbling, and it's inspirational, especially when you consider this is a year where we got to showcase girls make games, where it's all about helping women to get into an industry that is predominantly male and that is hard to break into, and showing girls you can make games too. You can be into gaming. This is something that I think is so cool and that I wish existed years ago. I could have been in the game industry. I've been playing games forever, for as long as I can remember. I've always gravitated towards games. And it's really cool to just see that there is this resource now for women to get interested in games and to get scholarships and to follow that passion and that dream, and that is there to help them and support them so they don't have to feel alone, like the lone girl in a room, which, to be honest, as a girl nerd, I'm not going to deny, sometimes I feel that way. Even though I have a lot of amazing nerdy women friends, there have been many times where I have been the token girl in a room of boys that are nerding out about something. D&D has been one of those things for me throughout the years. So it's just really cool to see that this is not just a year that is celebrating the accessibility of game making, not just celebrating, developers that want to give back to their communities, but it's also about celebrating inclusivity, and not just in terms of any gender barriers, but also in terms of the world, the globe. And I just think it's so beautiful. It allows me to reflect and think about how gaming connects all of us. And even with mobile games having a place in the award show and just in our space is kind of amazing, because it turns anyone into a gamer. And games are such an intrinsic thing, whether you play a board game, whether you play a video game, whether you're playing sports is also a game. Games are something that I just feel are so intrinsically human that connect all of us in a really beautiful way. And so I felt very uplifted by a lot of what we were celebrating at this award show, because it felt like just how games connect all of us and how we are all kind of one, even though we're not. These barriers that we create between us are not real. They are made up. We made them up, and we can take them down at any point. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I know that the award show can be a bit depressing for some, because it just feels like a glorified, 3-hour long ad for games that's about making money, where we're rushing these awards, and what are we even doing here, right? What are we even doing here? But I think ultimately at its heart, what the award show is supposed to represent, and what Jeff wants it to represent, I think, is just a celebration of everything that games have given us. And I felt that this year. So yeah, it's not perfect, and there's still things that can be done to make the award show better, but I will say, I think it is one of my favorite award shows that we have, because it's exciting. It represents some really good stuff. And even though it's not perfect, there is a lot of good that it does for the industry that it is representing. And I will say, not all games that we saw were amazing. There were some really amazing ones. I'm very excited for the new Divinity from Larian Studios. That trailer did things to me, and I can't unsee it. None of us can. They did warn us that there might be some disturbing things at the award show this year, and boy, that was one of them. They had me fully on board after playing Baldur's, and I've never played any Divinity. So I know this is something I gotta check out now. It will be on my list of things to do before we get the new game. I am very hyped. That being said, there were also some other trailers that I did not enjoy as much, some of which I did talk through. My apologies to the people that probably worked very hard on these games. And we finished with possibly one of the most lackluster trailers for me that I saw at the award show, or pretty close to. I think Stupid Never Dies was one of the that game seemed really cringe. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Stupid Never Dies. Even though I'm sure there is an audience for that. So if you like the look of that game, that's not to knock anyone, but for me, I was cringing hard during that trailer. But I think the worst one that I saw still is Highguard, which is unfortunate when you consider who's bringing us the game. I mean, this is a studio that brought us Titanfall, that brought us Apex Legends. So I think we were all expecting something that was just a bit more. Highguard instead ended up being such a generic looking game. I talked about Supergirl throughout the entire trailer for it. And after was like, that looks pretty basic. And chat agreed with me. We all kind of felt that way, I think, about that trailer in my community, which is unfortunate. So, but I mean, not all of these can be winners. And even though I'd like to call it right now that I think Highguard is not going to do well because it is going to be a disappointing game. I never wish for things to be disappointing games. I hope all of these games that were previewed do amazing and surprise me and do well and find their audience. But it's also cool to see the reaction to these different trailers, because what it tells me is that our minds are reaching out for something better. We're looking for art, man. We're looking for art in our games, and it's coming. It's already here. We already had so many games this year that were masterpieces in so many different ways and brought so much to us as gamers in terms of unique experiences and gameplay and mashups of mechanics that you just don't see, and approaches to genres, things that twisted or redefined genres, things that moved us to tears or made us burst out into laughter uncontrollably. It's been such an amazing year for games, and I feel like the Game Awards did a good job of summing that up. Overall, like I said, there's still more that we can do to improve upon it, but it left me feeling pretty hopeful. So all I'll say to finish this off is Viva la Revolution. I'm very excited for indie games to continue to take the world by storm, and going into 2026 and beyond, I think it's going to be a completely different market. And that's good. I hope that studios re-examine why they make games. And it's not just about the bottom line. It can't just be about that. In a world that's this competitive, you have to give people more. And you should. I don't want cookie cutter things made by AI. I want something that connects to me, that makes me feel something. That's what I'm excited for going forward. And that's all I have to say about this. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you like when I talk about video games, we do that here. And this you gotta check out.